I appreciate everybody coming out for the Eco Talk this month. And Cindy Harris asked me about 9 months ago, probably, to talk about birds. And I said, sure. I like to talk about birds, and we're going to talk about our feathered friends, bird watching from your own backyard. So we'll start here. What we're going to discuss, we're going to talk about birding basics. I hope you all can hear me. The microphone situation didn't get one except for recording me. So we're going to talk about where our local birds come from. We're going to talk about migration. How do I learn to identify birds in my backyard? What the behavior and habits of some of the birds are, what attracts them to our backyard, nesting habits, and got some binoculars to try out, and we'll talk about birding resources. And I will probably go fast through some portions of this. We're on a limited schedule. Library closes at 8. They want it wrapped up at 7:55. So I'm going to talk fast. Hope you can listen fast. If not, you can give me your contact information and we can talk about it later. So welcome. And birding basic. How many of you consider yourself birders? Birders, wannabe birders, want to learn some more. Okay, so here's the definition. What is a birder? An ornithologist, which is the big word. It's a person who studies birds or is a bird expert. There's twitchers, which Chuck and I learned about last week, that are people who go to extraordinary lengths to see birds, and that's a British slang word. So twitcher, if you feel like you're twitching when you're looking at birds, you fit right in, apparently, with a British twitcher. There's also birdwatcher, bird lover, ecologist, environmentalist, conservationist, you name it. You fit in that category if you're interested in looking at birds. So why be a birder? It's fun, it's easy, it's appropriate for any age. As we age, I'll speak about myself, age gracefully, it's easy to do. You can do it from your car. There's a book, I'll mention books as I go through here. There's a book that's about birding from parking lots in Texas. It's a wonderful resource. So you can get out and do it by yourself. You can do it in groups. You're outdoors, and birds are an indicator of the health of our ecosystem. It's relatively inexpensive depending upon the equipment you choose. And if there are camera buffs and good equipment buffs, you'll be spending a lot of money. So where do our backyard birds come from? So I get this question a lot. Well, where did they come from? Are they always here? We're talking about bird migration. Bird migration is triggered by a combination of environmental factors and internal biological rhythms. So you've got temperature, availability of food. So this is the time of year that your food supply is going to peak and then start declining. Internal clocks, circadian and circannual. So every year the birds do the same thing. So here's some numbers, if you're into numbers. Billions of birds migrate in the fall. So we have started our fall bird migration, and these are all estimates. You can look on the internet and find slight variations of all these numbers, but about 4 billion birds move from Canada to the US, and about 4.7 billion birds leave the US for the tropics. So bird species, of which North America has about 2,000 bird species, most of them migrate. So about 75% of all the bird species in the US migrate. Fall migration has started August 15th to November 30th, and then in the spring it's March 1st to June 15th. This happens every year, same time, same station. Birds know, they get on the road. And like all smart birds, in the fall they move south. So I just selected a couple of bird migration maps. This one was put out by a boreal conservation organization that was talking about what kind of birds are in Canada and flow south. So they're showing they've nested up here in Canada and they're flowing all the way down to South America. This is the common one you'll see. This one's from Fish and Wildlife. And there's considered to be 4 flyways. The Atlantic flyway is the black one, the Pacific flyway over here in the red, Mississippi flyway, and we are in the green, the Central flyway. So birds are migrating through the US. So we are so fortunate to be here in Grapevine. There's about 1,200 bird species in the US. About 600 can be seen in Texas. In Tarrant County, we have 387, not more, not less. And year-round, about 200 of those species. So right here in Tarrant County, you can go around and see about 200 bird species. And you go, well, I see about 3 in my backyard. How do we know this? Well, for one, the Audubon Society has kept this booklet in place since about 1945. So there's data that supports all the birds that come through Tarrant County and when they're here. So like I said, this is a great place to be if you want to be a birder, and you don't have to go far. So for example, Mississippi kites. You see these in the summer, they're here, they're flying around, they're nesting, and then they're gone. So about mid-April they show up, and about this time of year, I heard one actually at Park this past weekend, but most of them have left the area. Still? Mom and I think 3 fledglings. Yeah, well, about this time of year, and so you go to a website, and this is the Cornell All About Birds website, and you pull up information about it, and you find there's a map, and it shows that the migration, and I Google it, it's about 6,000 miles. So this area up here is where they're nesting. They migrate all the way down here, and they spend the winter down in Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay. So those birds that are up in our trees for the summer have a long way to go. So any bird species that you want to look up, you can look them up, and you can find out this information about any of them. So nightly bird migration and light pollution. Some 350 to 450 species of North American birds migrate long distances. A lot of the others migrate shorter distances, but the ones we're going to talk about are these ones that are going long distances. They get the compass information from the sun, the stars, and the magnetic field, Earth's magnetic field. So here is a very neat website, Birdcast, and it's I think on the next slide, I've got more information about it, but this shows on September 2nd at about midnight, this was the migration that was going on right through Texas. And all of these little green dots here are radars. So they're collecting radar data about the masses of birds that are flying through, and they present this. And you can go through, and it's a live feed, so you can watch it past time and how the bird migration shifts during the night. So 80% of migratory birds that are migrating migrate at night. So while we're asleep, they're all up there flying because they feel safer in the dark, and it's easier for them to find their way in the dark, apparently. Here's a map from the first at 22:30, so ET, 9:30, 10:30. So 10:30, there were 349 million birds estimated to be in flight over the US. And as you can see, the colors get hotter. There's a bunch of birds. So birders will go to this and they'll look at it and they'll say, was it a good night last night? Were there a lot of birds active? And the answer on that night was yes. So you'd be out the next morning looking to see what's migrated in through the area. So light pollution plays havoc with these birds. You've probably seen articles about bird strikes and birds flying in the windows. So there's been a move afoot for quite a while now to have a lights out program. So these are maps from the late 50s, mid 70s, 97, and 2025 showing light pollution. So there's a program in Texas, it's called Lights Out Texas. So from the fall migration to spring migration, from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., you are asked to turn out your outside lights, you know, your bright lights, windows, draw your blinds, and tone down the lights if you can. It helps the birds. So for example, this top map is sunset. It shows you as this map goes through time, this line shows sunrise and sunset. So I picked it at sunset. So there's at sunset, and there's at 2 a.m. So you can see that night, the 31st into the 1st, that's how the migrations shifted over the night. And again, hot spot. In one day. All right, so that's bird migration, lights out. So now we want to get back to how do you identify birds that are in your backyard? These are your common birds that are in your backyards. Blue jays, robins, wrens, sparrows, chickadees, woodpeckers, juncos, mockingbirds, doves, finches, hawks, grackles, blackbirds, hummingbirds, cardinals, and titmouses. They are not titmice. Titmouses, multiple titmouse. So most of these birds you'll see in your backyard year-round. Some you won't. Hummingbirds they're fattening up for the journey now. If you've got feeders out, you can look at them and their little bellies are getting bigger. They're so cute. Juncos come into town for the winter. But those are typical. So tips for bird identification. Frequently, you might think that the first thing you want to see is the color of the bird, and the answer is no, you really don't. When you're looking at a bird and they're only flitting through, or you're only going to see them on the ground momentarily or in a tree momentarily, what you want to focus on is the size and the shape. And the shape is more important than color, because that bird's shape will always be the same, whereas their color may vary, and I'll explain that later. Color and pattern, and it's important to focus on features that you can get at a moment's notice. So most important, beak shape. Sometimes once you start recognizing birds, you'll recognize an attitude or a position that they're always straight up, or they're always, when they're perched, they're more parallel to the ground. So, and then there's habitat and behavior. So again, there's a website called All About Birds. And what you want to do to start recognizing your birds is you put in your mind, you've got some birds that you know at a glance. You know a house sparrow. Everybody knows what a sparrow looks like. You know the size of it. So get the size of it. You know robins. You see robins around, so that has a size. Cedar waxwings or cardinals. You know, you see plenty of those, so you have that size and variation in size. So when you see a bird you don't know, you say, well, that's bigger than a robin, but smaller than a crow. And that's going to help you start narrowing down to what your choices are. And then you note other characteristics, like I said, how are they perched? What is their beak shaped like? For another example then is this is about a junco. So if you go to this website, All About Birds, and you look and it'll say habits. What does it say? Size and shape, color and pattern, behavior, and habitat. So it'll give you the list of that bird, and it'll mention things like the behavior is it jumps around in the leaves and it forages, and it looks like it's hopping along. And another behavior is that when it flies, there's a little flash of white on its wing, and you see that, and it catches your eye, and you go, oh, that's not a sparrow. That's a junco. So that type of information is available either in books. Books are great if you've got reference books. The only problem with books is it's usually not specific to the time of year. You've got to sort through that because different birds are here in the winter than are in the summer. And you might have a book that is all North American birds. Well, you may have birds there that are only on the East Coast. And we have a Western species of that. So if you can use a computer to narrow things down for you, it helps these days. So backyard birds here, we have, for example, we have 3 doves. We have the white-winged dove, the Eurasian collared dove, and the mourning dove. So you look at the size and the shapes. And here you can see the Eurasian collared dove is the largest at 12 inches. And these others 2, the mourning dove is 12 inches, but it's kind of a lower 12 inches. It will lay flatter when it's perched or on the ground. And then the white-winged dove, and the characteristic that you're looking for, your shape, you say, that's a dove, I know a dove. And then the white-winged dove has this white line along its wing. The Eurasian collared dove, as soon as you see this black around its little necklace there, that's the Eurasian collar. It's the only one that does. And the mourning dove doesn't have either one of those. And most of the time, you can see the little spots on the back. But if you're looking at the front of it or the side, or it's just flown away, when it's flying away, you see this white, and you'll see this collar. If you don't see either one of those, you say, oh, that's probably a mourning dove. We have woodpeckers. These are our common woodpeckers, red-bellied, which does actually have a reddish belly, and the downy. And there's a big size difference on these guys, and you can see the beak is much bigger, the body length is different, the pattern of their feathers is also different. We have tufted birds. So the ones with the little crest, we've got the cardinal, we've got a cedar waxwing, and we've got the titmouse. So again, we've got an 8.5 inch bird, and the cardinal cedar waxwings are a little bit smaller with 7 inches. And characteristics, you see the thick bill. Here you've got like a little bandit on the eye. And here's the little titmouse that's got a stout bill, and this is always the loudest bird in the pack. Hawks. We have 3 typical hawks here, and again, the size difference. The big guy is the red tail, and has a reddish upper tail. The red-shouldered has cinnamon breast, and as well as the red-shouldered. They're 17 inches, and the Cooper's hawk is 16, and it's more narrow. And again, when it's sitting, to me, it looks like it's very straight at attention, whereas these other guys they're slightly leaning. And you say, okay, that's great. I've got color as kind of a sub element, but I'm looking at shape and pattern. And the reason you want to do that is because birds look different when they're young. They look different in their first year. They look different in their second year. And usually they don't get to what they look like forever after till about the third year. They have different colors when they're molting. They have different colors when they're breeding. So breeding season comes along, and for example, the great blue heron might look like this normally, but in breeding season, looks here, he gets decked out. He's got more feathers that are ruffled there to attract the ladies. And then the juveniles might not have much coloration, so that's why you don't really focus on the coloration so much. You look at their shape and their bill. Their bill is always going to be there, the same shape. All right, out and about. So you want to go beyond your backyard. Checklists are a great way to learn. So this is what the Fort Worth Audubon Society has put together, and it is available online, but that's what the door prizes are. I've got 3 copies to give away, so we'll draw those tickets when appropriate. And with this, you can tell a Carolina chickadee is green all the way through. So that Carolina chickadee is here year-round. And if you see something in your backyard and you say, well, I think it's XYZ, you go up here and you look at XYZ and you find out, oh, it's only here in the spring and it's in here in the fall. So that means it migrates through. It migrates through here. It's going to be here for a month or 2, then it's going to leave. So obviously, I'm over here in the dead of winter. It's not that bird. So that's why these are great, particularly for your backyard, for keeping by your window. You say, what are my choices? I think that is a wren. What are my choices? So you go to this booklet and you say, I've got my choice of this wren, or this wren, and only one of them's here this time of year. Bingo, that's it. And you're going to be right 99.9% of the time. If you're out traveling, if you're going to a wildlife refuge, nature center someplace, they have their own checklists. And they're in different formats, but this is a fun way to go. You look up these, you print these out before you go. If you're on an expedition some weekend or on a vacation, you get these and you look at them, you say, oh, in the spring they have this, this, and this. I want to see some different birds than what we've got here in Texas. So you get their checklists and download them. Phone apps. The phone app, there's several available. Merlin, Audubon, iNaturalist. So you can, what's really handy about these is that they do a good job listening. So you load the app. There are data packs with it. If you travel, you can load a data pack for Southeast Asia. When you're there, you can use it. And it is only as good as the people in that country are putting data in. So some of them are not fully populated, but here they're great. You can turn on the microphone, you set it up, you let it listen, and it'll tell you what it thinks it hears. So it's pretty accurate. It doesn't do some categories like baby birds have, special squawks. It doesn't recognize those. That's not in the database for Merlin. You can also explore. There's an explore thing that again, it's one of those features where you go someplace else and you tell it where you are, it's going to pull up what kind of birds are there that time of year. So it narrows out, strains out a whole bunch of other things, and then you're left with, okay, it could be A, B, or C. So this is another great way to learn. Okay, food. Yes, sir.
I noticed with Merlin, it identifies 2/3 of the birds that we can see, and one of the third we can't see on our feeders.
Right. Or we can't hear.
Merlin.
Merlin hears them, and as our hearing changes,
Karen, I have a question.
Yeah.
When they talk about the size in 6.5-inch bird, are they going from beak to tail or?
beak to tail, right? Okay, what birds eat? Okay, why are they going to visit our backyard? Okay, so you've got all these species coming through North Texas. Why are they going to come to your yard? Food, water, and shelter. So if you give them those three things, they should visit you. And back to the beak. So the beak shape tells you what the bird is going to eat. So the conical beaks, like the cardinals, they're strong, heavy, they're going to crack seeds. The pointed beaks are made to get bugs. The hummingbird has a long tubular bill, so it pulls up the sap or the nectar or your feeder water. Woodpeckers have strong beaks, and they also have strong skull structures, because when they are hitting that tree, they've got to protect their little peanut brain inside. And they're after the insects that live under the bark.
They'll also come here, bird.
And yes, they will also come to your bird feeder. They are opportunistic. They'll come eat whatever. And then you've got your water birds, you've got birds that will dive and go after fish, and they're the ones that have the pointy beaks so they can snare fish. And then you've got the other kind, like mallards, and they're squeegeeing through the silt and trying to get little crustaceans and insects and plant material. And then you've got flycatchers, and they actually have little whiskers around their beaks to help them detect when there's insect, or when they're flying along and they're out snatching insects. That helps them detect that there are insects. 96% of North American birds, other than seabirds, feed their young insects, which contain protein. So if you're thinking you want to feed the birds, you need to have insects in your yard. So that is no pesticides. And then some of the birds, like hummingbirds, do feed their babies insects. So they're out there grabbing little tiny insects, little spiders, whatever. They feed protein to their little babies. Sugar water doesn't do it. And that's just the way you tell your kids, right? Sugar water doesn't do it. Protein, protein, protein. Okay, how to give them what they need in your backyard. So if you want to feed them, it's fun because they'll come, they'll land there. They frequently are there long enough where you can actually see them and recognize them. So you've got the different types of bird food, and the most recommended is always the black oil sunflower. It's got the most bang for your buck, most protein in it, not a bunch of waste that goes on it.
Which one?
The black oil sunflower. But you can see on the back of the Audubon bird seed packages, they'll have this chart and it'll tell you you're getting black oil sunflower, and the cardinals are going to like it, the chickadees, the goldfinches, all these birds that they say are attracted to that bird seed. If you want to feed the doves, for example, you're going to use millet. They like millet, it's on the ground, they can pick it up easily.
I see peanuts sometimes.
That's because Audubon doesn't sell it in a sack.
Peanuts are bird.
They are very popular and they're fun. So backyard birding, what do you want to do? You want to have native plants. A native tree might have up to 500 species of bugs in it, whereas a non-native tree does not. So that means that you're going to have caterpillars, you're going to have little creepy crawly things that they want to eat. And they will come and eat it. Leaf litter, permission to leave your leaf litter, because that's an important source for the bugs, the overwintering bugs, the caterpillars, and the chrysalises are all in that leaf material. So you want to delay your garden cleanup until the spring after several 50-degree days. So then all those little critters that are there have had time to move out of your leaf litter, and it's time to clean it up. Shelter and brush snags. Again, a place for bugs to hide. See up here, there's a little white-crowned sparrow in amongst all that limb and leaf litter. So there'll be larvae there, important source of bugs. And if you want a fun project, build a bug house. They can't read, but they'll come and nest there anyway. Water, keep your water clean, multiple sources of it. Protect it from predators. When you're setting up your bird feeders and your water sources, don't put them directly under a tree, but put them close to something where the birds can come and visit it and then dash off for cover. They want to feel safe when they go to eat or drink. And then birdhouses can be fun. So nesting habits. What are nesting habits? Well, it depends. I've shown there the bluebird. We've got lots of bluebird boxes out in our parks, and when you take walks there in the spring, you can stop and watch the bluebirds going in and out, building the nest. Mississippi kite, if you've got groups of trees, you look at the groups of tree and you look for the tallest tree, and that's where the nest is going to be. Northern cardinals, they'll nest about anywhere, but about eye level-ish, and in shrubs. And Carolina wrens and Buick's wrens, they'll nest in any little crack and crevice or pot or in your garage, on your porch. They'll nest anywhere. So your migratory birds that have come here to nest in the spring. So bluebirds, purple martin houses. I think some of those are up in Meadowmill Park, I believe. Hummingbirds come here and nest, Mississippi kites, etc. Local examples, so the ones that we keep around here year-round: wrens, killdeer, mockingbirds, cardinals, hawks. Killdeer will build a nest in the middle of a gravel driveway. So they just move gravel around and there's the nest, voila. Broods, anywhere from 1 to several per year. I think doves can have up to 5 broods a year. It's true. Nesting material, it varies. So again, back to all about birds. So you can look up nesting habitats and it will tell you everything you want to know. How they build it, what it's built of, what the timing is, what the egg, number of eggs and how long it takes. So again, a resource, either a book. There are books that do this. There's really great books that have eggs and the colors of eggs and the nests and so forth, but you can find it all online. Ask your children or grandchildren to help you. Ah, good plants and being a garden person, got to throw in the good plants for birds. I'm running close. Okay, so I'm going to talk native trees. So these are native trees that we have here that you are good for birds because they either have seeds, the birds will eat the leaf buds in the spring. They may have fruit, they may have nuts. So all of these characteristics are great for birds. And you can look on Audubon, Texas. There's a plant selection tab on Audubon, Texas. Shrubs, same thing. We've got beautyberries, button bushes, evergreens, possum haw, holly, rusty haw, black haw. I burn them. Yep. And Audubon has native plants, so they've installed a database. You can put your zip code in, and it'll come back and give you suggested plants and what birds. A lot of them I found early on as they were establishing this database, they're all kind of focused on berries and things like that. But there's a lot of like a native plant that's going to attract a certain moth or caterpillar, and then that's going to provide the bugs. So it wasn't so much focused on bugs, it was more on berries and fruit. But I think as time goes on, they'll be adding more material. And then there's the perennials and the grasses. So the grasses and the seed heads, in the wintertime, we get quite a few different types of sparrows that come into our area. And you can go out to our parks and see different varieties of sparrows, and they're on the seed heads of these plants now that have dried up. So wildflower.org, you can get native plants. And you can search by whether you need shade or dry or wet conditions. And then I just made up a list. These are things that you can buy here in your local box stores or Callaway's or wherever. So these are plants that are good for birds. And they're commonly available. And here's sunny locations, shaded locations. So any of these, some of these have nectar that are going to be good for not only hummingbirds, but there are other birds that come through and that will get down to the base and get nectar. We've got some that have berries. And again, native trees are going to have native bugs or native plants. Binoculars. So I've got a few pair of binoculars sitting out here if anybody wants to try them out. Binoculars. So when you shop for binoculars, this is a great website here at the Audubon. They've got a guide, and it will take you through. It'll ask you how much money you want to spend and what you're going to use it for, give you the prices, and it'll give you the features and the weight. Like I like something that's lightweight, and what your magnification is. So the best advice is to go to Bass Pro or Cabela's and get them out of the case and just try them out in the store. See what you can see. Where are you going to bird? If you're going to bird in your backyard, you're going to bird from here to over there. If you're going out on a trip and you're going to, be looking at a tree that's hundreds of yards away, you want a different magnification. So try them out and pick what you're going to use it for the most. and the price ranges will vary. And the birding resources, this is the local, this is the Audubon Society, Cornell, all about birds. I didn't put birdcast on there, but I think maybe you took pictures of birdcast. Just type in birdcast. Audubon Society meets in Fort Worth. We do Zoom our meetings now, so if you want to join, you can watch them from home. And we have an events tab. We do, I do quarterly park walk, a quarterly walk in Parr Park. The next one is September 14th, Sunday at 8 a.m. If anybody wants to come out to the walk, you're welcome to join us. There's National Audubon, and there's Texas Audubon, and there's Cornell. Out of those resources, you can find any amount of information that you need. And then use your smartphone. Your Merlin Bird ID is the one I am fond of. Questions?